Hello, YouTube. All right, so this is part of a little bit of a series I'll be doing on a complete beginner's basics for FL Studio. If you're completely new to FL Studio, you just downloaded it, you open it up, and you're greeted with a lot of stuff that you do not know what it is. So for a lot of people, uh, FL Studio is the first music making software that they use. I know it was mine. So let me just give you guys some basic rundown of how this works. So this is the first episode, the basics of all the windows in FL Studio. Uh, First off, the sequencer, mixer, and the playlist. So these are the three main things you'll be using in FL Studio. When I started using FL Studio, I didn't I didn't use the mixer for probably the first month because I didn't know how it worked. And so yeah, the first thing you'll always be using is probably the sequencer. Now, this is I don't know, the FL20. Um, I started using FL Studio at FL12, and things looked a little bit different then, but the basic idea is still the same. So you have four windows you'll be using the most, and you're probably thinking, oh wow, there's only three on screen right now. The other one is probably this browser, and you get a bunch of samples. This is like a sample library thing. Like you can link up files to this browser, and you can do that by going to options and then file settings, and just link up a bunch of files you want to use as samples. And obviously, pretty much any sound format works with FL Studio. So you can link up a bunch of files. I have a file named samples, which I've basically all the things I've made and assembled over the years, I've pretty much saved here. And yeah, I sync this between two computers, so that's why it's easier for me to just put everything in one file and then have my subcategories there. But if you have something else, you can link it here. I think there's some kind of other way to, you can refresh it here. I think there's some other way to link something. You can even smart find. I don't even ever use that. So you can search like kick, I guess, and it can search through all the samples and stuff. And yeah, and the browser has three subcategories because pretty much all programs on a Windows computer, well, any computer pretty much, exist out of like a bunch of files. So you have three subcategories. This one's samples. Here we have projects and project history. Basically, like all the stuff you do in the file in the file is if you like, let's say, you make a bunch of kicks, and then it saves it. You did something in the sequence editor, and you edited some more stuff, and it keeps track of everything. So obviously, yeah, Control Z works in FL Studio. Only problem with this is FL Studio is basically a program, well, pretty much any DAW is a program which references a lot of other programs which are called plugins. And you can find the plugins by going to the Add menu. And here you have a bunch of these plugins you see right here are ones that I bought and installed. And the rest are the ones that you get with FL Studio. Not all versions of FL Studio. Just note that it's not with every version because this is the professional edition, I'm pretty sure. I bought this a while ago. Not that one, just the about. And yeah, this is FL Studio 20 Producer Edition, right? So there's all the pieces of software you get with FL Studio. So we'll probably be looking at like 3x OSC. They changed the layout for this recently, so you just have to look around a bit. Now they have this whole categorization situation going on here. So yeah, just if you have to look for, yeah, now here's subtractive stuff. 3x OSC, we'll be looking at 3x OSC, pretty much your basic synthesizer in probably one of the next videos. But for now, we'll just look at the basic windows you have in FL Studio. So the first one you'll be looking at is the sequencer, right? And in the sequencer is basically you have a bunch of instruments here. So if you, let's say, have anything that creates sound, it's in FL Studio right here. So if you take, let's say, a sample, just go to dubstep producer, whatever stuff, beats, stick a clap. Let's say we put this clap here. It's basically just a sound, right? And it's, as the name implies, it's a sequencer. So you can basically just add a bunch of, it's basically your main beat making situation right here. Or you could change the tempo. What I usually do if I want to create a quick beat is you can right click and you can say fill each 2 steps, 4 steps, or 8 steps. All right. And that's pretty much, I always do first 4 and then another thing to keep in mind is if you are creating all kinds of genres and stuff, up here on the top left you have the tempo thing. Not the metronome, but basically the tempo control. So you can manage the tempo of whatever you're making. So if you have a 4-step beat, right, and you want to make it quicker, you can just, or you want to do some hip hop stuff, you can go back to like 90, and then you have some basic. I'm really bad at hip hop. Yeah, stuff like that. Okay. So yeah, you manage your tempo up there. That's pretty much an important bit of there. We'll be looking at this top panel up, I think probably in another video. But for now, we'll just be looking at the basic stuff. So the sequencer is basically, yeah, basically a sampler. And I never really look at this stuff here, but you can, this is probably a view change interactive step sequencer. Piano roll overview. Yeah, okay. So if you're, let's say you have an instrument and you want to create some music, this is probably the first step you'll do. We'll be looking at 3x OSC in another video, but this is just for display purposes. If you right click on a specific instrument or whatever, to the right you see here's a little thing that says piano roll. And this is one of the other windows you'll be probably using the most in FL Studio. So that gives us a total of 5. That's the browser, the mixer, the playlist, the sequencer, and the piano roll. And in the piano roll, you see here's a bunch of notes, basically. So if you're new to music, this should be pretty new to you. But if you know music, if you play piano specifically, this should be great. Only problem with this piano is, like, if you turn your head to the left, this is not the way a real piano works. It doesn't get higher to the right, it gets lower to the right. So this one gets lower to the left. So let's say you want to make a little tune here. Damn, Mozart would be so proud. You can see this show up in the sequencer, right? And I guess this view is just for if you want to look at all the notes that's been played in all of the different instruments. So by default, if you, let's say, take a kick and you create a bunch of steps in it, if you go to the piano roll, you'll see it sticks to playing C5, which is the root note, like the middle C, big old middle C. So every sample you drop into FL Studio, automatically the main version of it, or the basic or the original version of it, is a C note. It doesn't actually change the pitch of it, it just keeps it the same. But if you suddenly start playing higher notes, it changes the pitch of the sample by 1 semitone, 2 semitones, 3 semitones, 4 semitones, you know, as it continues on, up or down. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are starting to, like, if you do all kinds of weird vocal things, like all this modern kid stuff. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. So you can, technically, you can write beats in the piano roll, which is something I do a lot, is you can go to the piano roll, right? And just keep in mind that your main beat is C, C5. So you can actually write your beats in here. And it doesn't actually matter how long you make the actual note. It will only play the sample once for every retrigger of the note. So let we have some sick Beyonce shit going on. Uh, so yeah, that's the basics of the piano roll. Basically, this sequencer is a smaller version and a less complicated version of the piano roll. And if you do music at all or no music, you'll know that most of the music making will probably happen in this here region. Right, so that brings me to the next part of the, let me just see how we're doing on time here. 10 minutes. Yeah, so probably we should probably cover the playlist in the next video, and this is the region where we'll actually be making a song. So if you make a song, you'll probably compose all of the stuff here, because you're basically creating a pattern here, a 4-step pattern. And if you know anything about music, you'll know that there's a lot of repetition and stuff. So yeah, I think I'll probably cut it here for now. And in the next video, we'll look at the playlist. So thanks for watching. Please let me know if these tutorials are at all informative, if I'm doing anything wrong, if I can improve them at all. Feel free to leave it in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot.